save souls, slay error, go stronger, go stronger, go stronger.
So what makes a Catholic school a Catholic school? Father Bill Peckman, a great writer, Orthodox writer, he says that it's not the word Catholic attached to the school that makes it Catholic. I mean, of course, it should be called Catholic in the title, but and he says it's also not having statues and images and icons that makes it a Catholic school. He says what makes it a Catholic, and it's not just having religious classes. Okay, it's not just part of religion classes; it's part of the curriculum. He says, especially if religion is being taught is watered down, opinion-based, or heterodox, then the classes are like brackish water. They do more harm than good to the faith formation of the students. He says, if the religion is treated as disposable to more important things on the schedule, if it's treated not as the core of the curriculum or not taken seriously, then all you have is a private school.
Yep.
Religion should be taught, to be sure, but more needs to happen. What makes a Catholic school is what makes a Catholic parish Catholic.
Yep.
Here's number one. Ask you, is it a place of prayer?
Number one.
2, is it a place of devotion? Or is sports the priority? 3, is it a place of service, Christian service? 4, is it a place where virtue is promoted and lived and expected? 5, is it tied to the mission of the church? And 6, is it producing vocations? Father says, I maintain that the single most important aspect of the Catholic school is the parents. Why? Because I can have world-class teachers and administrators. I can have completely engaging in Orthodox catechesis and academic formation. I can have enough statues to fill a museum. I can expose these students to the full breadth of the sacramental life and devotional life of the church. But all this is for naught if Catholic formation is not being taught at home as well. Terry?
No, you nailed it. This article it said, is there a place of prayer? Is there a place of devotion? All these. In other words, what's the priority of the Catholic faith in the school system? Or is it, really just academics? Because if that's what a lot of schools are, then why even call it Catholic when it's not? And you know what, Jesse?
Yeah, just a private school.
Exactly. And there's another barometer I say. When they have these reunions for these high schools, the Catholic reunions, even if it's 5 years later, ask yourself how many of these kids are practicing their faith 5 years after graduation. And it's such a small amount, 10 years, even smaller, 15, even smaller. Why is that? And I understand the world, the devil, and the flesh, but let me tell you something. I never went to a Catholic school in my life, Jesse Romero, and everybody else, okay? Never. And a lot of my friends who I played ball with were all in Bishop Amon High School, St. Christopher's, Catholic schools. Guess what? I don't even know one that's practicing their faith today. See, and I say this, what's most important is giving them a relationship with Jesus Christ when their prayer life, when the Eucharist. How many of these kids, Jesse, come out of Catholic school who have no clue about the real presence of the Christ in the Eucharist? We know that they're not getting the message. So I thank Father for saying, hey, look at the barometer. Get involved in your kids' education. It's important. Jess, you've had that experience with your sons. I remember you telling me, Terry, I had to go over there.
Of course, I've had to write letters and go talk to the teachers and the counselors to teach them Catholicism. And I'll tell you, Terry, the cash value statement in this article where Father Peckman says, he says that that is where my principal is. That is where my staff is. That is where my school board is at. Most importantly, that is where our bishop insists that our Catholic schools be. Not Catholic in name only, here it is, but incubators that produce strong, faithful, and lifelong Catholics. That's the cash value statement. Catholic schools should be incubators producing strong, faithful, lifelong Catholics. And I'll tell you, even non-Catholics go to Catholic schools. You know why? Because they know that the education is better, the environment's better. But if you're going to water down the education and the religion, especially just because you have non-Catholic kids there, then all you're doing is you're just running a private school.
I'll give one more thing, talk on it too, Jesse, because how many non-Catholics end up becoming Catholic, going to Catholic schools? I can tell you right now, very few. And in the old days, Jesse, do you realize, like, I've got a good friend, Father Robert Bishop. He was a Baptist. He was going to Catholic school because of the education. You know, he wanted to get a good education. He fell into the Mass, the Tridentine Mass, when he was a youngster. He went to Mass, and that did it. He said, wow, that's worship of God. I want in. And you see, Jesse, we need to evangelize, and they don't even consider evangelizing in many Catholic schools. I've talked to them about, what do you do about the non-Catholic? Oh, well, we don't want to impose our religion on them, so we don't have them come to Mass. We don't want them to come to, if whatever they, you know, we just want to lay back on with, you know, talking to them. Here's my point, Jess. The fire's gone out. What about sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with the non-Catholics that go to school? There's a potential convert in those schools, and we have looked the other way and said, oh, well, and Jesse, the spirit of Vatican II says that we shouldn't have them become Catholic. Let them, you know, just stay where they're at. That's a bunch of garbage. I'm sorry to be so blunt.
Yep, and we could have more father bishops out there, more Baptist converts, and become holy priests. Terry, the catechism is clear, but again, it's just dismissed by the modernists.
Yeah.
In paragraph 2229, it says parents have the right to choose a school for them,
That's it.
which corresponds to their own personal convictions.
Yep.
This right is fundamental, and public authorities have the duty of guaranteeing this parental right and ensuring concrete conditions for its exercise. Also, Pope Leo XIII, he says in his encyclical on Christian education, he says he recognized the importance of Catholic schools. He said this, Leo XIII, for it is in and by these schools that the Catholic faith, our greatest and best inheritance, is preserved whole and entire. And again, back to Vatican II. The Declaration on Christian Education says, the public power, which has the obligation to protect and defend the rights of citizens, must see to it, in its concern for distributive justice, that public subsidies are paid out in such a way that parents are truly free to choose according to their conscience the schools they want for their children. And Terry, so Vatican II is calling for vouchers, which, by the way, the Democrats, they block it every single time it comes up. Vatican II is calling for vouchers, Terry.
Just the facts. And if you go to canon law, the 1983 edition says it real clear. Mom, Dad, you're the first educator of your children. And don't ever forget that, because you have a right for your kids' education. So if anybody ever tells you, hey, Mom, I'm the teacher, say, time out. You might be the teacher, but I'm the first teacher. That's what the church teaches. So sit down. I'm going to tell you I'm concerned about X, Y, and Z. You have to be bold right now, Jess. You can't sit back and just watch, because what's happening is when we sit back and watch, our kids many times in Catholic schools are getting fluff, and if not even fluff, bad moral teachings. Jesse, I'll just give you right back in the mid-'70s. My wife, I'll name the school, St. Pius in Downey. You know what she was told in 1975?
What's that?
It's okay to have abortions. Yeah, I know I'm exposing our LA diocese on that. She said, no, it isn't. Out of the 28 kids in the classroom, she was the only one that said, no, you can never have abortion legal. That's wrong. Now, this was right after Roe versus Wade. And can you imagine, Jesse, the effect on those kids when the priest said abortion is okay? I guarantee you he participated. I'm sorry. Many of those men and women who participated in abortions were affirmed by a false teaching at a Catholic school. And I said, you know what? That's enough of that. I'm glad I didn't go. But, Jesse, hopefully things are turning around, because I'll give you a good plug, everybody. St. Teresa in Alhambra. They have a wonderful Carmelites that are running that school.
You have pockets. There's pockets.
Yeah, you got to find them, though. That's the point, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, you can find the pockets, but the majority are run by modernists. That's just the truth.
That's just a fact.
Yeah, but there are good pockets that you can find that, like St. Teresa. I know the principal there. She's my good friend, Alma Cornejo.
Yes,
Holy woman.
Oh, she is.
Going back to Catholic schools, Pope John Paul II tried to rein in the problem, but Terry, just as Dr. Vince Fortunes told us, he says,
nobody listens.
Yeah, says, how come, when you write stuff, why don't things happen? Yeah. Pope John Paul II told our friend Dr. Vince Fortunes, he says, I write things and people just don't listen to me.
I know, it's horrible.
Yeah. In 1999, he wrote an exhortation, The Church in America, and he said this: it is essential that every possible effort be made to ensure that Catholic schools, despite financial difficulties, continue to provide a Catholic education to the poor and marginalized in society. It will never be possible to free the needy from their poverty unless they are first freed from the impoverishment arising from the lack of adequate education.
Wow.
Well, here's the problem, Terry. Most Catholic schools right now are for the elite. It's for the rich and famous.
True.
It's for. I mean, for most people, the average blue collar, man working, his wife staying at home, they can't afford Catholic school. It's impossible. And so you see a bunch of non-Catholics there. You see a bunch of secular humanists there that can afford private education, that are very rich. That, in fact, 94% of Hispanics go to public school.
What? I did not realize it was
here
that
in this
high.
country.
That's amazing.
So only 6% of Hispanics will even get to go to a Catholic school, and most of the Catholic schools that they're going to go to are just modernism.
And just so you know, way back in the 60s, we had so many more Catholic schools in the country, and so many of them have lost becoming schools. They've lost their funding. And I'm going to propose that if they go back to orthodoxy and really teach what the Catholic faith is teaching, we see those schools booming. So it's just a fruit of modernism, Jesse, why the schools have dissipated over the last 50 years. They're having a hard time surviving. Let's go back to the fundamentals of the faith.
Virgin Most Powerful Radio, sharing the gospel with clarity and charity.